Does your ex still have feelings for you? This is Clay with ModernLove.life, where we help you get the great, loving relationship that you're looking for without having to play mind games, without having to play hard to get, and without having to pretend to be someone or something that you're not, because I believe that you deserve to be loved for the person that you are. And if you agree with me, do me a favor by giving this video a thumbs up and by subscribing if you're not already subscribed. Before we go ahead and get started, I just wanted to let everybody know that I have gotten a lot of emails and messages and blog comments about both private one-on-one coaching and also the group coaching interactive class that we're going to be doing pretty soon here. And I'm really trying to get back to all of them. It's just I've gotten so many that it's kind of tough for me to keep up with them, but I will do my best to get back to as many as I possibly can before this weekend. This is, of course, Memorial Day weekend here in the United States, and I'm going to be probably trying to relax as best I can because it's probably going to be the last time I have some real time off before all this group coaching stuff and personal private one-on-one coaching stuff really starts to take off and take up a lot of my time. But anyway, if you wrote into me, please have a little bit of patience as I try to slog through the massive backlog of emails and such that I have been getting. But with that being said, let's get to the topic of today's video, which is, does your ex still have feelings for you? And this is it can be a tricky situation, a tricky topic, but I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible for you. Let's go ahead and get through a couple of signs to look out for, and then I'm going to kind of give you some rules of thumb to look for, because, you know, I could give you like a countless, endless, inexhaustible list of signs and all of that, but then there's always going to be the person that's like, well, what does it mean if somebody follows me on Snapchat and then unfollows me? Like, what does that mean? And then, you know, it's like there's always all of these many different contingencies and many different situations and many different circumstances. So let's just go over some basic broad stroke things, and then I'll give you a rule of thumb that you can use when looking kind of beneath the surface. So the first one is that your ex may experience a dramatic change of emotion. They may suddenly, you know, be really warm and open to interacting with you, to remaining in contact with you, to spending time with you, to all of that stuff, and then suddenly flip over the other way and kind of turn on a dime here, as they say in the United States, where they suddenly overnight change their view, change their perspective, change their opinion, change their sentiment towards you. And this is often not due to them actually legitimately like suddenly having a change of heart overnight. Usually it's due to them trying to do something. You know, maybe they have heard about the no contact rule in their own way and they're like, okay, I'm just going to try that out. Or maybe they decided to, you know, try to do, for example, many years ago I was like really into minimalism. I still, you know, like to practice it in a certain respect, but I'm not, you know, obsessive about it where I say I own under 100 things and these are my 100 things. Like, I don't do that anymore, but one of the people that I used to follow in the minimalist world was they had this belief that, like, hey, you have to get rid of all things that are related to previous lovers. And I can understand why. That makes sense, to free up your emotions and all of that stuff. And like, if your ex was going through something and they decided to pick up that sort of philosophy, it would make sense that they might, you know, remove photos of you from social media accounts or something like that. And it's not because they're necessarily genuinely not feeling anything towards you. It's just they're trying to do something in a certain area of their life. Okay, so that could be one explanation about why they're having this sudden change of heart. It could also be due to very dramatic reactions one way or the other, a very high level of confusion, which of course confusion is not feeling anything. It's absolutely an emotion behind that. So that's definitely one sign that your ex still has feelings for you, is that they have these very quick back and forth emotional swings. In fact, we call that riding the dragon in our little world over here. The next one is that your ex is in a rebound relationship, and I know that this can be tough to really pinpoint because rebound relationships are not actually about the amount of time from a breakup. We often look at them as a factor of time, but really it's about how the person's dealing with their emotions. Most people, however, are not very good at dealing with their emotions in a productive, effective way. And so you can kind of look at time as a general guideline, but it's not really like, I mean, like, I've seen people on the internet that advocate things like breakup math, where it's like, oh, for every 1 year that you were together, it takes 1 month to get over the breakup or something like that. And like, breakup math is not in any way anything that I ever recommend you do. But you know, if your ex is jumping into a new relationship very shortly after breaking up with you, then in all likelihood, it is a rebound relationship. Other ways that you can tell it's a rebound relationship are looking at things such as displacement, where they're trying to fast forward the new relationship up to approximately the same level of commitment, of closeness, of connection that they had with you. Oftentimes where they are bypassing the organic way that that level of connection would normally go, and they're trying to, you know, really force it to work. We had a whole topic maybe a month or so ago on rebound relationships. I'll go ahead and link to the playlist on rebound relationships over there. If you want to check that out, you can learn more about rebound relationships in greater detail. And the last way that you can tell if your ex still has feelings for you is if the two of you had a real, meaningful relationship with one another. If you and your ex were in a real, legitimate relationship and you had real, legitimate feelings and real, legitimate experiences, and you actually had a good, strong bond with one another and all of that, then chances are they still have feelings for you. I know that oftentimes people tend to live in this like really black or white sort of world where it's like, okay, either my ex is like madly in love with me or they have absolutely no feelings towards me whatsoever and they're going to interact with me like a robot or something like that. And it's not that black and white. Chances are that your ex probably has some positive feelings for you if you had like a substantial relationship, because the two of you shared your lives together, you shared moments together, you shared closeness together, you shared memories together, you shared dreams together, you celebrated each other's victories, you comforted each other when you had setbacks and all of that stuff. And that's not just going to go away because, you know, you broke up a while back or something like that. They're probably still holding on to a lot of those precious memories, a lot of those precious feelings. You know, even if you look back at like old relationships that you've had yourself many years ago, and maybe things didn't work out so well. I mean, like, you know, I definitely have that experience with me and my, you know, major ex that I talk about from time to time here on this channel. But I can look back on some of the good times that we had together, and I can appreciate those for what they are. So in that respect, I still have feelings for her. But really, don't think that just because your ex is behaving one way towards you or anything like that, that is absolutely a perfect reflection of how they feel, because it's often not the case. What happens is that we have these positive emotions, these positive memories, these positive feelings about people in our lives, but that's just one layer of the puzzle, right? You know, so we had this relationship with our ex. We had all of these positive memories, all of these positive experiences, all of these loving moments together and all of that stuff. And those created one layer. But then, you know, sure, there might be something built on top of that. Maybe that's hurt. Maybe that's betrayal from, you know, something that happened that caused the breakup. Maybe it's, you know, suspicion or emotional resistance towards interacting with you because they think that you have some sort of hidden agenda, or because you're not taking into consideration their emotions or something like that. But that's just a layer on top of all of those good things. And all you really have to do is kind of clean up that top layer, and suddenly you'll have like all of those great things again. It's kind of like those infomercials that I don't know if they still have them on TV or not, but you know, they'd take like some like crazy old rusted penny or some old pipe or something like that, and they'd put it in this solution of some sort, and they'd let it sit there for a couple minutes, and they'd take it out, and it's like, wow, it's like shiny new copper all of a sudden, right? So you just gotta clean away all of the in the fancy college world, they'd call it a patina, the coating on the exterior that's kind of built up of those negative emotions, and you'll have the positive emotions underneath. And that's really what is most likely going on in most situations. So with that said, let's talk about some rules of thumb that you can take away. Chances are, like I said before, if you had a real substantial relationship with your ex, they still have feelings for you. They still have positive feelings for you. But again, it's just covered up by that layer of, you know, whatever you want to call it, rust, grime, whatever, the negative emotions, right? And so what you want to do to make sense of your ex's behavior, if it's like, hey, they unfollowed me on this social media platform, or hey, they are only texting me back short one-word replies, or hey, they are telling me to give up or move on or something like that, what you want to do is you want to take your knowledge of them, because you were in a relationship with them. You spent time together with them. You probably know them pretty dang well, right? A whole lot better than me. Some guy on the internet is going to be able to know your ex from, you typing in like, 100 words into a chat box or something like that. But you know their personality. You know what makes them tick. And if you look at their behavior, if you look at what they're doing, what they're not doing, what they're saying, what they're not saying, and you run it through the filter of your knowledge of their personality, your knowledge of their inner world, your knowledge of what annoys them, what inspires them, what makes them open up, what makes them pull away, and all of that stuff, then you're going to have a much better understanding about what is making them tick. So, for example, I know some people respond to conflict by pulling away, by shutting down, by walling others out. Totally. So if that's maybe your ex's personality, that might explain why they are blocking you or not talking to you or something along those lines. It doesn't mean that they don't have any feelings for you. It's just how they respond to the emotional stressor, which is a feeling, of being in conflict, of having an uncertain kind of emotional footing, right? So they still have the feelings, it's just their response is different. Or if your ex maybe responds to a dramatic event by really like engaging, lashing out, accusing, blaming, pointing fingers and all that stuff, maybe even intentionally saying things to intentionally hurt you because they know it's going to get an emotional response from you by saying things like, I don't care about you anymore, I never loved you, or something like that, then obviously that person still has feelings for you, right? But you have to be able to know your ex, you have to be able to know what their emotional world is like, their personality, and you need to be able to see their actions through that filter. Oftentimes people will take what their ex says or does way, way, way too literally. They'll, like if their ex says, hey, I don't have any feelings for you anymore, they'll just say, okay, my ex said they don't have any feelings for me anymore, therefore they don't have any feelings for me anymore. And, sure, that's absolutely a possibility, but oftentimes your ex might be saying this to just convince themselves that they don't have any feelings for you anymore, because they're trying to, cling on for dear life to their failing rebound relationship and convince themselves that this was a good choice to leave you in order to be with this other person, even though it's falling apart like all around them. Or maybe they're trying to convince themselves that they actually don't miss you, even though they really, really, really do miss you a lot, right? So don't necessarily think that what your ex is literally telling you or doing is a perfect, absolute reflection of how they feel or anything of that nature, because oftentimes if you look at their emotional motives underneath the surface, there is a whole lot more going on there that is driving their behaviors. But again, this is based off of you having to understand who they are. It's based off of you having to understand their personality, their motives, their drivers, and all of that stuff. Anyway, I hope this has helped you get a little bit of an understanding about whether or not your ex still has feelings for you. And if you like what we're doing here, please give this video a thumbs up. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel if you are not already. And once again, if you are interested in either the group coaching or the private one-on-one coaching, there is going to be a link in the description box for this video. You can go ahead and click on that. It'll put you on an interest list, and I'm going to be putting out some stuff for that in the very near future, probably at the beginning of next week, and we'll actually be able to start taking on coaching clients, both the private one-on-one coaching and for the group coaching class thing, starting in the near future. But with that being said, let's see what folks are talking about in the chat today. Ooh, got a lot of comments today. Is it possible for your ex to have strong feelings for you in a relationship with somebody else? Yes, it absolutely is. Also, why is he so angry and vengeful? My ex says that I am changed or changing even to her friends, but refuses to get back with me, getting angry over my previous behaviors. Or is she acting because there is no attraction anymore despite my change. Okay, so what happens when your ex when your ex is angry at you, when your ex is vengeful towards you and all of that, is that they're still holding on to this hurt, this pain, this this emotional scar, so to speak, from, whatever happened that caused the breakup, that happened during the breakup, that happened after the breakup. Like, just as an example, maybe you broke some sort of trust. Maybe you did one thing, you said one thing and did the opposite or something like that. And that caused them to get really pissed off at you, angry at you, and so they broke up with you, right? And then after that, there was like all kinds of like emotional back and forth, right? So they're still holding on to that pain and hurt from the betrayal. And even though they might see the changes that you're making, they still have that pain and betrayal that they're holding on to. So they're associating you with pain and betrayal. And thus, in order to act within the law of consistency, which says that, hey, I broke up with this person, therefore I need to act consistently with somebody who has broken up with this person, they have to kind of distort their version of the story, their version of reality, their version of what happened, in order to make you into a person that was worth breaking up with. So, maybe you lied to them about something. Maybe one time, it was just a small white lie, but because they need to act in consistency with somebody who broke up with you because you lied, they need to paint you to be somebody worth breaking up with. So they might try to characterize you as a chronic liar, as somebody who never told the truth, as somebody who could never be counted on, or something along those lines. And so oftentimes when your ex is very hateful, very vengeful, very resentful towards you, what they are many times interacting with is not really the version of you that you are, but the version of you that they had to create in order to justify to themselves, to their friends, to their family, to whatever, for why they are breaking up with you, why they are not getting back together with you. So yeah, they might be seeing that you're changing. Yeah, they might be a little bit upset, like we talked about this in a previous video, about how your ex might be upset that, like, oh, you're only changing now after we broke up? Like, wasn't I worth it back when we were together? Your ex could be hanging on to all of these stories and all of these things that could be keeping them feeling this way. But if you want to reconnect with your ex, again, what you got to do is you have to take your ex's focus off of this image of you that they broke up with that was worth breaking up with, and bring it back to who you actually are. That is, you have to continue to show up as a person that's different than the person that they think that they broke up with. You have to continue to show up with consistency, and if you continue to show up with consistency as somebody who is different than the person that they broke up with, they will start to eventually put more and more trust into that, right? So your ex might be hanging on to a lot of that pain and resentment and all of that. So continue to show up with consistency as somebody who's not the same person they broke up with. But in addition to that, if you need to clear away anything that they could still be holding on to in terms of hurt and in terms of emotional baggage and stuff like that, like, maybe you never actually apologized for betraying them or something like that. Again, hypothetical example, I don't know exactly what happened between you and your ex. But if you need to apologize for something like that, absolutely do it. But don't just do the, hey, I'm sorry for lying to you kind of thing. But actually say, I'm sorry for lying to you. At the time, I didn't think that I could tell you the truth because I was scared of telling you the truth and I didn't want to hurt you even more. At the time, I didn't really consider how this might affect you, and at the time I was just so confused about what to do, and I was only thinking of myself, and I'm sorry I didn't take your feelings into consideration. Kind of reflect back to them how you imagine your actions made them feel. And that's a great way to get an apology going. That's a great way to help them to release the pain from whatever happened that they could still be holding on to. And that's a great way to start moving forward from there. Let's see what else folks are talking about. Lots of comments today. Wow. Let's see. Kenzie says, my ex is in a rebound relationship. We have been in no contact for about 4 months. I just posted a picture on Facebook with another guy friend, and he unfriended me the same day. What does that mean? Well, okay, so it depends. He could have interpreted that as like, oh, you're posting this so that I will see it, so that I'll get jealous and reach out to you. He might have seen it that way. I don't know. Or he might have just been like, yeah, I don't need to see my ex be together with like another guy that she's dating. I just don't want to see that. Like I would just want to have our memory together be like our memory together. I don't want to have to like imagine her with somebody else. That could totally be something that he's thinking as well. It could be just a reminder to him of like, oh, hey, I'm still friends with my ex, but like I don't want to. I want to like try and move on, so I'm gonna like unfriend. It could be like any number of things. It's kind of pointless to try to imagine all of the possible reasons for it without really understanding who your ex is as a person, without understanding his personality, without understanding his emotional world, without understanding all of that, right? So yeah, he might be in a rebound relationship with somebody else, but you know, if he is in a rebound relationship, like we mentioned in the earlier part of this video, he still definitely has feelings for you. And by seeing a picture of you with somebody else, by seeing a picture of you with another man, that could have stirred up all sorts of emotions for him of, you know, potentially you're moving on, potentially, you know, he has to like compare himself to this other guy. Oh, am I more attractive than him? Is he more attractive than me? I mean, like, I don't know. There could be like so many things going on that that it's really impossible to know with definitive certainty what it actually means. But you know, I think we have explored a few possibilities in the past few minutes here. Let's get back to the comments and see what folks are talking about. Okay. Hi, Clay. When I try to shift the communication towards the emotional level, she shuts down and does not really respond. She mentioned she finds it hard responding to anything not superficial. Well, okay, that just depends on, okay, so it depends on kind of like where she's at emotionally. If she's at a place where she is not able to get too deep into things due to maybe like external stressors, like, I mean, like, I don't know what she's going through. I don't know if she is under some sort of like heavy deadline from work or school or something like that. But it can be hard to get into the deep emotional level. Another possibility is that you're going too deep too fast. I know that like when we start to do this work, when it comes to having an emotional connection with somebody, when it comes to connecting with somebody, bonding with somebody, and having a meaningful emotional communication, we often think that it has to be this like super intense kind of dialogue where it's like, woman, you move me so deeply to my core, or something like that. But and sure, it absolutely can look like that, but for a lot of times that's just going to come across as way too much, way too fast, unless it's in the right context. A simple way to do this is to just simply, you know, instead of saying like, how did that make you feel, or you know, you move me, or you know, whatever thing you might have done. If you wanted to pace it a little bit more slowly, you could say something like, tell me more about that, or what was it like when that happened, or I imagine you must have felt upset when so-and-so did whatever they did, or you know, something along those lines. And now suddenly, instead of just complaining about a coworker, as an example, she can say, oh yeah, well, actually I was kind of upset because he said he was going to do this thing, and then he didn't do the thing, and then he did, and now suddenly she's talking about her feelings. Then you can start to connect and bond based off of the feeling of upsetness, as opposed to just talking about work or talking about like, I don't know, whatever superficial stuff you were talking about. But you know, you don't have to go from like 0 to like 100 in, you know, 1 or 2 text messages, or 1 or 2 exchanges, or 1 or 2 sentences, or whatever. You can sometimes take it a little bit slower, and that can actually help the conversation and the emotional connection progress a little bit more organically, without going too fast and overwhelming somebody. Okay, everybody, so I think that's all we've got time for today. I've got some more software things to look at. I've got some more other things to take care of. But once again, thanks so much for tuning in. If you like what we're doing, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And if you are interested in either one-on-one coaching or group coaching, please go down below and click on the link in the description to make sure that you are on the interest list. I'm going to be sending something out to folks probably on Tuesday, maybe Monday, I don't know. Monday's a holiday, we'll see. But anyway, keep an eye out for that, and thanks so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you next time. Please